right. We are back again for another night of football. We are now on to day 8 of our 32 and 31. Tonight we're going to be covering your Cleveland Browns, a team that has had interesting success, wild comeback stories. The quarterback with allegations who ended up getting a huge contract and paid people off. Legal issues, problems, scandalous things, and now we're moving on. A new season, a fresh start, essentially, for Deshaun Watson. And I can tell you right now, I think that this year will be very good. I think that this year will essentially be the year that Deshaun Watson finally has a clean slate, right? People are obviously still going to have things to say, still make jokes and all that good stuff. But I do think moving forward, he's going to have this team on his shoulders. Cleveland seems to believe in him. And I'm just not sure yet if they're willing to let bygones be bygones. But I will say that for certain quarterbacks, if they're able to win and, of course, drive their team to a potential good situation or even better, people do tend to be able to look over things a little easier sometimes. With that said, make sure you guys hit that like, hit that thumbs up, and, of course, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Click that bell, turn on your notifications so you don't miss a stream. Shout out to the Rich Gang. Shout out to the family, all the listeners, all the watchers. I do appreciate each and every one of you. It's Monday night. Right? And we obviously don't have any true Monday night football, but we're talking it tonight, and it's been a great day. It was a hot day today. Before we get into this, it was very hot today. Heat waves everywhere. Vegas breaking records. 90s in New York. Unbearable heat down in Florida. It's hot. But hey, nothing wrong with a little bit of heat. Just let you know that it's summertime. All right. Quick shout out to Forrest Green. What up, man? Bass player in the house is up. Jay. Nick Chubb is who will carry the team. Deshaun is he who is not named. Taking me back to the biblical times. I see you, bass player. Shout out to Immortals. Immortal says if Dante Foreman was on Dallas, he would be starting. Interesting. Okay. Shout out to you, Darren. What up, yo? What's going on with you, Cat Daddy in the building? Matty T. Let's go, Matty T. I ain't see you in a minute, bro. What's up, Jay? Hope you enjoy your 4th and extended weekend. I did. It was great. I hope you guys had a great weekend as well. Fun times, good food, good drinks, and safe and sound. I think that's the most important side of things. All right. Listen, Gardaki said something in the chat, and I'm not gonna go in there. I knew somebody was gonna say something crazy. I'm not gonna go there. You guys can get your rocks off as much as you want. It is what it is. All right. Let's go ahead and get into this depth chart. I can see the jokes coming from a mile away. Obviously, as far as for starting for these Cleveland Browns, you've got Deshaun Watson, Nick Chubb, Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, David Njoku, Jedrick Wills Jr., Joel Bitonio, Ethan Pachech, Wyatt Teller, and then Jack Conklin. Let's get started with this offense here. Right now, we all seen what happened last year. Deshaun Watson's out. You then have Jacoby Brissett in there, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and then obviously Joe Flacco comes out of nowhere and shocks and amazes everybody, which led to him actually getting a nice chunk of change for his performance, and then obviously won Comeback Player of the Year award, who, he was going up against DeMar Hamlin. That's obviously another story. I think that Joe Flacco definitely deserved it. I think he was the right man for it. No hate or shade to DeMar Hamlin, but I just think comeback player means you did something super significant, and that's what Joe Flacco did with this team. But now moving forward on to Deshaun Watson, right? Looking at this offense and what they may be able to do coming to this next season. There's a lot riding on these Browns, for multiple reasons. Obviously, we know that they had a great season last year. Joe Flacco, being the veteran that he is, took what was available and used it to his full potential. Now, obviously, he did end up running out of steam when it mattered the most. But what are you going to say to a man who basically just came off the couch, who did the best that he could do to get this team in a position that he did? So I want to give, a round of applause. I want to give a round of applause to Joe Flacco for what he did, because I don't think anybody really expected it, and he handled his business. So kudos to him. Now, coming into Deshaun Watson, the real question is, are we going to really see a full year or a full season of this man on the field, right? You've got your paycheck, you've got your money, you've got the bag. Now, are you going to be the quarterback that this team has paid for and use your talents where they're actually required on the field? I think that's the biggest question right now, right? We know the injury situation. We can move forward from it. He should have a fresh start, play a full year. And I think this is where we're going to see the biggest part of, is he who we think he can be? And, is he going to be who he says he's going to be? And so you obviously want to see the training. You want to see him focus. You want to see him building that chemistry, getting back ready, getting back right, coming into this next season. Now, we all seen what he did with the Texans. And, he was that rookie, that new guy, that superstar that had that aura coming into the Texans, but obviously fell short. Well, coming over to the Browns now, we really don't have much on Watson to say he's going to do this or he's going to do that. So if I'm just basing it on what I think in regards to, my expectations, is I don't think that he's going to have a rock star season. I think he will have to be carried by this team. And I say that because coming back off of an injury, coming back off of a year where you really didn't do too much to contribute, the real question is, are you mentally ready? I think that's going to be the biggest thing as far as for Deshaun Watson. Is he mentally ready coming into next season to actually get this team back in gear and lead them the full way, not half of the way, not a quarter of it, the whole way? And I think that's going to be the biggest question, and a lot of what people are looking at. Obviously, you got Jameis Winston in there. That's going to be a great veteran secondary for him that, can come in and step in if needed. So that's good. You can kind of trust Jameis Winston to get in there and hold things down if it comes down to it. You also got Tyler Huntley, right? He's coming over from Baltimore. He's had some good experience in the playoffs, so he's another one that could definitely, help out if the, occasion called for it. Then obviously you still got, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I like Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I think that, he has potential. Obviously not starting potential, but I do think that with more development and, as the time goes on, Dorian Thompson-Robinson could be in a position to, be a little bit better. So, yeah, from the point of looking at, Deshaun Watson having the talent and everything that the Browns want, and then actually having some veteran presence as far as with, the second string, the third string, I definitely think that the Browns are going to be in good hands when it comes to the quarterback situation. Shout out to you, Kirk. What up, yo? Says that combo of Cooper and JJ going to be nasty on top of Chubb coming back. I haven't even got into that. I want to get into it soon. As far as Nick Chubb, right? He's another one that essentially will be the workhorse for this team. We know that Nick Chubb likes to get down and dirty. He will be that individual that, they'll work down into to the grind, to the bit, and he's fine doing it. Now, obviously, another one that, you do have to say, all right, fine. we know we can rely on him, but he can get injured. Well, obviously, then you got Jerome Ford. You got Deontay Foreman. You got Nyheim Hines. Shout out to Nyheim. Yeah, we ain't going there about Nyheim, but You got Jerome Ford and you got Deontay Foreman. I think those are two backs that you can definitely rely on if something goes on with Nick Chubb. So, when I look at just the quarterback and the running back positions, I see some good things. I see some good experience. I see if something goes wrong, we got a plan B and we got a plan C that can step in, and things just won't fully crumble. Things won't just turn into shambles. And I think this is good for the Browns. Now, after that, as far as your wide receivers, one of the probably the best groups, with including the tight end that you're going to probably see play this year. Amari Cooper, we know that, he's been a stud. Jerry Jeudy, I think he's fully going to be utilized by Deshaun Watson, considering the skill set that he has. And to be honest, Jerry Jeudy is going to have a lot to prove coming into next season. And, I say that to say this: when you look at his talent and what he was able to display in Denver, I don't think he was truly used to his full potential. And yeah, we can blame that on the quarterback situation, because honestly, at the end of the day, he was not used to the level he should have been. And that's the reality of it. So he's going to be great. Elijah Moore as well. He's going to be great. David Njoku's a beast. I mean, what can I say about David Njoku that hasn't already been said? Great hands, great route running. This guy's built like a tank. It's not easy to bring him down. And he's a baller. He's a true superstar. And, I could definitely see Deshaun Watson really utilizing that link up with David Njoku, because this man has trustworthy hands and he's a dominant force. Shout out to Matt. So just looking at that, right? And fine, we won't look at the secondaries. Looking at the starters for the Browns, if Deshaun Watson can stay healthy and he's mentally focused and he's ready to go out there and ball, if Nick Chubb can stay healthy and keep playing his game and really dig down into, his core and have a great season, Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, if these guys can really, do well in their 50-50 balls and, have great yak, I think that this team is in that list of slept-on teams that we have coming into this year. Then obviously we get into, the offensive line. You got Jedrick Willis, Joel Bitonio, Ethan Pachech, Wyatt Teller, and Jack Conklin. Now, I mean, for the most part, from what I seen last year with the offensive line, I think that they gave every quarterback that was behind them the best opportunity to figure things out. And I think they're going to do it even better this year, because now you're getting your quarterback back. You've got a little bit more chemistry built. You guys are motivated to do better because you've seen how far you got last year. So I definitely think, this offensive line is going to be strong. They're going to make it tough for, anybody to get through. And I like it. Now, this is one more team where I do struggle, though, grading, just because of the issues with, the injuries. If you take away the injuries of Deshaun Watson, and obviously he has a similar year to last year as far as record-wise, and then obviously Nick Chubb, I'm probably going to give, this offense a solid B+. But with the injuries and the real question as far as whether or not Deshaun Watson's going to be able to come into next year and fully focused and capable and ready to go, I have to give them, I want to say, a B-, just because, of the changes with the talent coming over and things like that. Yeah, it matters. And yes, Deshaun Watson is coming back, but there is a lot that goes into when he steps out on that field and whether or not we can trust him. That's why I'm giving them a B-. But overall, great offense. I think if everything's clicking, the Browns should be a force to be reckoned with 100%. 100%. Before we get into the defense, let me hop into this chat with you guys. Says, I can't rely on Ford. Listen, certain people, and we've seen this time and time again, certain people have this weird way of a career, right? You'll sleep on them because they'll just shit the bed and with some specific team, and then they'll move on and they'll go somewhere else and they'll have this chance and then they'll break out. And that's the beauty of the game, right? You kind of don't know what you're going to get, and you kind of do sometimes. But you know, the reality is it's always next man up. So if you put someone in a situation who can go out there and be better than what they have, and when there's incentives for it, or if they're trying to get that paycheck, that's when you start seeing things change for certain players. And, we may see that next year with, some people in the secondary. You never know. You never know. Shout out to you, Matt. Daniel, what up, yo? What's going on with you? Gordaki says, Watson? Randy Watson. Jackson Heights own. Y'all get me started tonight, yo. Says Willis Jr. is worthless. I mean, we'll see. Right? Going into next season, we'll see. Gardaki says Watson hasn't been good in like 6 years. Man, listen. When you got, situations going on and you've got all kinds of adversity that you've created nonetheless, and when you've got all kinds of distractions, how good are you going to be? And we get it. You got money. You're a superstar quarterback. You've allowed yourself to end up in environments where things have happened, and you've kind of put yourself in those situations willingly. And you made mistakes, right? And obviously you owned up for those mistakes, and then you paid big time. You paid big time for those mistakes. So I think, now that things have kind of quieted down, which I do still expect to see some of the victims in the stands from time to time, just to be like, hey, we're still here. We're still spending your money on these tickets. I think at the end of the day, that still is going to resonate in his head, but he's going to have to really figure out how to get over that situation, come into this next season and do what he has to do as a professional, talented quarterback who just got paid hundreds of millions of dollars. That's the reality. So let's go ahead and move on to the defense. Shout out to you, Big T. What up, yo? Shane says Chubb's not coming back until the second half. Yeah, I mean, obviously we'll see, but like I said, the reality is either Ford or Floorman is going to have to work something out, hold it down. But Nick Chubb's, when he comes back, he's definitely going to be a force we reckon with for sure. For sure. All right, let's get into this defense. You got Zadarius Smith, Dalvin Tomlinson, Shelby Harris, Myles Garrett. Myles, listen, if there's one person that is feared when it comes to after a play is snapped, it's Myles Garrett. Where the hell is this guy at? Is he coming around that corner? Is he coming up that middle? Because if this man gets a whiff of you, Myles Garrett is going to bring you down and you're going to feel the pain. Absolutely phenomenal. Myles Garrett is definitely top tier, hands down. If you have a tier list, he's in tier 1, without a doubt. And I think he's been the huge driving force as far as, the heartbeat for this Browns defense, and which a lot of people kind of slept on the Browns defense until it mattered the most. And we've seen that from week 1 to week 17. People were like, well, Browns look all right. Browns look good. All right. Oh, shit. The Browns did this and the Browns did that. The Browns beat them, or they kept it close. And you can attribute that to a lot of the defense. His defense was phenomenal. I mean, you get into Jeremiah Owusu, you get into Jordan Hicks, Devin Bush, Denzel Ward, Grant Delpit, Juan Thornhill, Greg Newsome. These guys are gelling together, and this is the kind of defense that you want, the kind of chemistry that you want coming into next season. They're riding a wave. And I definitely think that, this is one of those situations where you look at the capabilities of this defense. This is a championship quality defense. The difference for me here is whether or not this offense is going to get it together and build on that. You've already got a solid defense that's going to keep games close and not things get out of hand for you. Are you able to put up the points to go out there and get the victories? And that's where, that's where the game is going to be in Cleveland's hands the most when it comes down to that defense. So, I mean, if I'm looking at everything they did last year, I'm looking at them obviously this year as far as the grade on the defense. I got to give them a B plus. I got to give them a B plus without a doubt. When we go into the schedule for last year, and I'll pull this up with you guys before we get into the schedule for this season. But when we go into the schedule for last year, I mean, when you look at what happened with Houston, obviously people are tired, injured. Flacco gave it his all. They end up losing 45-14. But if we go through the regular season, just look at this. This is absolutely phenomenal. This is what you want to see out of your defense. Win against the Bengals, 25-3. You got a loss to the Steelers, 26-22. It's a 4-point game. They won against the Titans, 27-3. Now they lost to Baltimore, right? But we obviously know that Watson's out, so the whole dynamic changes. Everything changes for this team. You got Thompson Robinson in, and then they lose 28-3. Baltimore is a different team, way different dynamic offensively and defensively, and unfortunately, they didn't play their best game. But here we go. They go into the bye week. The defense then bounces back. The Browns win against San Francisco 19-17, in which was one of the most amazing games that we've seen, and shocking and surprising games because nobody's seen this one coming. Then obviously they get a close victory in Indianapolis 39-38. They lose to Seattle 24-20. They get a win against the Cardinals 27-0. Then they come back when Watson comes back, and they end up beating Baltimore 33-31. So, when I look at these scores and when I look at the dynamic shifting because of, Watson being out and Watson being in and, what the defense been able to do, for the most part, you can't ask for anything else. Phenomenal, solid. So I have no complaints about the Browns defense, in reality of the difference of, injuries and things like that. But yeah, like I said, I'm giving them a B plus. Now we're going to go ahead and get into next year's schedule. But before we do, let me hop back in this chat with you guys. Matt says Cleveland has a talent. They just need to tap into that next level and dial it in. Obviously, luck has things to do with it as well when it comes to healthy players. That's a fact, right? There's two sides of the coin. It doesn't matter how talented your team is or how many superstars you have. When you start losing people, left and right to injuries, things change significantly, especially if, you're losing individuals who are, playmakers, those individuals that can change the game. They make those one or two plays that just completely, change the whole dynamic and the momentum. That one guy that gets that big sack or causes that, that forced fumble or gets that huge pick. You start missing people like that defensively, that can make the score run up and, people start getting burned and beat down the field. And, those kind of situations happen because of that. And then obviously offensively, you have the same kind of situation, right? Your superstar quarterback goes down. You're expecting your backup to come in, and he's not going to be able to perform the way that, a superstar would. He can manage the game and, try to hold things down and try to go out there and do what they need to do. But I think when your backup comes in, you're really expecting the defense to do the most to just keep things contained and maintain in a close game. So, yeah, it definitely goes both ways for sure. That is for sure. Base player says Gary gets 32 sacks. We'll see. We'll see. Miles puts the team on his back multiple times per season. That is a fact. Miles is a dog. He is. Milesy popping up out of nowhere like Ray Lewis, right? He's like the boogeyman, yo. Myles Garrett is like the boogeyman. You watching him, you're like, where's he at? And then next thing you know, the quarterback is just down on the ground, limping as they get up. The score is a score. That's a fact. That is a fact. Shout out to Matty T. Says, Jay, how do you think Nick Chubb will come out this season? He's a different animal, a beast, but this is the same knee he blew out at Georgia, trying to be realistic about his longevity. It's very difficult to say what's going to happen to a player based on an injury, right? When you know and you understand someone's talent on the field, and when you know and understand someone's production and what they've been able to do, and then they go down based on a significant injury, it's very tough, because I'm assuming when they come back, they're playing a little bit more gingerly. They're playing a little different. They're being a little bit more cautious. And it's always resonating in the back of their mind as far as what happened. I don't want that to happen to me again. I don't want to be laid up again. I don't want to be injured again. And so, they're going to have to ease their way into things. They're going to have to take their time. They can't really, have that explosiveness that they normally have. And they won't really have, the shiftiness that they normally have. They can't really plant that foot as hard as they normally could. And, we see it time and time again with running backs, but Nick Chubb's injury was a lot different from what we normally see. And unfortunately, he's already had an injury of this magnitude. So him coming back, obviously we want to see it. We want him to play at his best of ability. But I do think things will be a little different, I'm hoping that he's taking the proper time to rehab. I'm hoping that he's definitely taking the proper time to get his body back right before he steps foot out there, because that's going to be important. It's going to be important. Hopefully he does come back. He's able to do what he does. And, to be honest, these guys are, beasts. They're machines. But at the same time, the mind is strange, especially coming back from something that was very, very significant. So I'm hoping that he does. I'm hoping that he bounces back. But I do think he'll be a little bit more cautious in regards to, what he's doing out on the field, while also doing the best that he can. Jacob says, I got the Browns in last place. Base Warrior says, double tape the knee in Pittsburgh. Yeah, double tape it, man. Double tape it. Well, let's go ahead and get into the schedule, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and get into this schedule. The question before we get into this that I did ask is, will Deshaun Watson bounce back? 67% of you said yes. And I do think so as well. So let's go ahead and get into this. As far as Dallas, week 1, this is going to be the season opener for the Browns and the Cowboys. Now, I think this is going to be a good one. You're going to have a defensive battle on both sides of the field. One of the big things that I will say is this. We know that Dallas's defense came off very dominant last season and then kind of, got a little shaky. The Browns kind of, took their time with it and then became the monster of a defense that we seen last year. But I think coming into this, the defense is going to be evenly matched. This is going to be a chess match coming into week 1. Now, the real question is who's going to perform better out of Deshaun Watson and Dak Prescott. And this game has all the fixings of being one of the greatest week 1 games at 4:25 in the middle of the afternoon that we'll probably see in week 1. So, if I have to give my prediction in regards to this game specifically, if I'm removing the injury issues, if I'm removing the problems that Deshaun Watson may have mentally, from a talent standpoint and from a defensive standpoint, I got to lean this more towards the Browns. And I'm not saying that Dallas won't be up in this game, because they most likely will, but I do think this will be one of those games where it's very close, low scoring game. Dallas Dak Prescott makes a mistake. Browns come down, score, tie it up, maybe get the ball back, win by a field goal. I think it's going to be a Browns victory in week 1. Next up against Jaguars, the Jags. This is another tricky one, right? Because we also know that the Jags are dealing with injuries. Trevor Lawrence, we're not sure if he's, lost a step or not coming into this next season. He's got some key pieces in there now that is definitely going to step up for him. And I like the Jags. I like what they've been able to do. The running game, the passing game. When Trevor Lawrence is on, he's on. The real question is whether or not if he's able to bounce back from the injury himself. And he's kind of in the same situation that Deshaun Watson's in, to be honest. The only difference is, the Browns are playing the Jags at home. And this is, one of those games, once again, where it definitely could go either way. But I do think as far as, playing the Jags at home is a different animal. That defense is strong. It's going to be tough for Lawrence, but I do think they may edge it out in the end. So I will take the Jags with the home field advantage in a close game, without a doubt. Next after that's going to be the Giants. And, I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I have no faith in Daniel Jones. I just really don't. I'm just not sure as far as, what this squad is going to do. And, things have just been terrible, unfortunately. I don't think Daniel Jones is the guy to get the job done. Tyrod Taylor obviously came in and tried to do the best that he could. And, I forgot the other guy's name with the DeVito. Yeah, DeVito guy. He had his 15 minutes and was gone. So, yeah, I'm just not sure as far as what these Giants are going to do because they just haven't really figured it out from, a quarterback perspective. And then obviously you get into the Raiders. I think the Raiders is going to be, a solid defensive team. But from a talent, perspective, I got to go with the Browns on this one. I think the Browns are going to have way more pieces in this game, way more playmakers. Albeit, I don't think the Raiders will go down easy, but I do think that the Browns will take it. Not a big fan of the Commanders yet at this point. I got to see what they're going to do next season before I really believe in them having anything going. So I got to go with the Browns in this one against the Commanders. The Eagles is kind of where I draw the line a little bit, right? The Eagles love to play these, strong games against, high-powered defenses and teams that, you'd normally think that would just come into Philly and bulldoze them. And so, when we get into this game with Philly, the real question for me is, are they going to be able to stop the tush push? Is Myles Garrett going to be able to get to Jalen Hurts? I think this is going to be a battle. I think that Philly may have lost a step, but I'm not going to write them off completely. So I will say I'm going to take Philly at home. After that, it's going to be the Bengals, right? Bengals will be coming into Cincinnati or to Cleveland. And I think that this is one of those situations where is Joe Burrow playing at his full level, and is he back at 100%, or is he going to favor one of those legs, or something go wrong with his wrist? There's a lot of questions that I think everybody has coming into next season, just because you have significant quarterbacks coming off of injuries that definitely matter. These aren't small things. So, to me, the only big difference between Cincinnati and the Browns would be we're talking about the defense. I think the Browns have the better defense, so that may give them the edge. So, yeah, I mean, I would have to go with the Browns in this one, specifically because the defense is better. Now, getting into Baltimore, things are tricky now with Baltimore, right? There's been some offensive line changes, but you also got Derrick Henry. But I'll be honest with you. I know Derrick Henry is a big dude, and he loved to run people over, but you ain't running through these Browns like that. Imagine Derrick Henry trying to bulldoze Myles Garrett. And you tell me how that's going to go. I'll wait. I think this is going to be a hell of a game for sure. You know, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, you know, phenomenal offense. On the flip side, obviously, you know, Deshaun Watson and company, if they've got things clicking, it's going to be a show. I'm going to give the edge to Baltimore, though. I just think that, you know, there's a lot of different threats that Lamar is going to be able to use now that Derrick Henry is going to be such a distraction. And that'll open up Lamar Jackson on the run, specifically, you know, down the stretch when they needed the most. After that's going to be the Chargers, right? Chargers is going to be week 9, Justin Herbert and company. Unfortunately, you know, with key wide receivers being traded out of the Chargers and Herbert kind of losing, you know, some of his lifeline, I think that's going to affect, you know, what he's able to do next year. And I'm going to give the advantage to the Browns in that one for week 9. And then obviously we'll get into the bye for week 10. We'll get into the bye week and I'm going to hop into the chat with you guys. Shout out to you, Richard. What up, man? What's going on with you, bro? This is Browns beat the Cowboys 27-15. Okay. Base players says go Browns. Jeff King in the building. Let's go. Shout out to you, Jeff. Much love, yo. Says if he doesn't bounce back, it will be the most expensive bust from a player in NFL history, and that is a fact. I agree. I mean, you're talking someone that was not playing, and they decided to give him $300 million. He was not playing. They gave him $300 million. He then comes back for a little bit, gets injured, and you guys know the history. So, yeah, if he can't bounce back this year, this may be the worst mistake that the Browns have made in their history. And I think that's the reality of it, without a doubt. Matt says Daniel Jones and Deshaun Watson are very similar positions at the moment. Really? Come on now. No, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to disrespect Deshaun Watson by putting him in the same sentence as Daniel Jones. Now, I'm not going to do that. Gardaki says Tannehill is currently better than Watson. Wow. Not Ryan Tannehill. Oh, my goodness. Luta in the house. What up, Luta? What's going on with you? Base player says, Jay, your hat is too tight. Stop it. This hat is just fine. See that? Just fine. Base players is in their history. Yeah. I mean, it would definitely be the worst decision they've made, you know, financially in their history, to invest so much money into, you know, Deshaun Watson and he doesn't pan out. And not just down the road. I'm talking like next season, right? You're coming back off of your injury. You've got the team that you need. You've got the defense that you need. If you can't do it next year, it's a huge problem for Cleveland. And I could see, you know, riots around the stadium happening if he doesn't get it together. I could definitely see that happening. I don't condone it, but I would understand for sure if Deshaun Watson ends up injured again, or he ends up not doing what he needs to do. So there you go. Let's keep going. So obviously the bye week is week 10. We then get into week 11 with the Saints. Once again, you know, are the Saints going to change things around? Are they going to still go through the motions? What's going on with Alvin Kamara? There's a lot of questions that you have there. I think their defense, you know, the Saints defense isn't really up to task like they used to be. There's a lot going on. You know, I think Michael Thomas was unfortunately the Saints' mistake. They kept him on for too long. They paid him a lot of money. He sat on the bench, and, you know, he definitely didn't have to do the job that he was supposed to do because he got the bag. You know, so for the Saints, for me right now, I'm just not sure what's going to happen with them. So I'm going to ride with the Browns on this one. Week 12, they go against the Steelers, right? This is going to be a good one. You've got the question of whether or not Russell Wilson and Justin Fields is, who's going to take over that team, or, is Mike Tomlin going to figure out a scenario where, he can use both when it benefits him the most? Is this Russell Wilson's last hurrah? There's a lot of questions that go into, Steelers Nation right now. I think this would be a definite, defensive battle. I think this is one of those games that go down to the wire, dirty, fighting to the last second game. But I'm going to lean towards the Browns, specifically just because I think there's more pieces for Deshaun Watson than what Russell Wilson really has on the Steelers team. And not to say the Steelers can't win it, because they can, but I do think that, it's going to come down to mistakes. And to be honest, I think Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, they're probably going to have the most, because they're coming into this team. It's going to be a new offense, new chemistry for them. There's going to be a lot to figure out. After that's going to be Denver, right? What's Denver doing? Does anybody believe in Denver besides the Denver fans? We're going to cover them in a few, or more than a few days, but by next week. There's a lot we got to talk about with Denver as well. Sean Payton, obviously we know him to be hell of a coach, but I think right now, the Broncos are in just, rebuild mode, to be honest. So I'm going to have to go ahead and take the Browns on this one. As far as with the Steelers, again, they may swap, right? Win one, lose one. It's kind of normally how it goes in those scenarios. And then, week 15, you get into Kansas City, the Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs, ladies and gentlemen, the Super Bowl champions. How do you take this one? How do you predict this one? You've got Kansas City, week 15. You're going to be in Arrowhead, and you're playing against them when it matters the most. These are the last weeks of the season. These weeks are definitely going to have, playoff implications and determine seeding and all that good stuff. And this is where Kansas City really starts to shine. This is where Kansas City really starts to step up. And obviously, if they're not in a full position that you just know what seed they are, then these are the moments where Patrick Mahomes really goes into that bag. He turns into that Mahomes magic, and I think it'll be a tough time for the Browns going in Arrowhead to take a W. So I will lean more towards Kansas City coming into this game for Week 15. Obviously, they'll have Cincinnati again in Week 16. The Bengals, they'll be obviously playing them at home. At this point, I'm assuming that Joe Burrow's figured things out. I'm assuming that, they've got the chemistry going. I'm assuming that, Burrow's made it this far without any kind of injuries or his previous injuries affecting him. If so, I think this could be a significant game for the Bengals being at home. And I will lean more towards the Bengals being at home later in the season when it matters the most. After that, it's going to be Miami, the Dolphins, Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill. There's a lot of competition. There's a lot of challenges that the Browns defense would have to work through with Miami. Now, the issue here, for me at least, is when you look at Tua, is he going to be better this year because he decides to run now? Or is he going to keep playing that pocket because he wants to avoid getting hit? And I think that's where a lot of the issues next year may come up if he tries doing too much. I like what he did last year. He did play it safe a little bit. He got rid of it very fast. He didn't take too many hits. And when he did go down, he didn't go down hard. So I think next year he may try to, pull out a little bit more, go in that bag a little bit more, still try to avoid the hits and play it, try to play his game. But I think this would be a good one, right? Because that Browns defense ain't no joke. And even with all the talent that Miami has, if this Browns team has got it going and they figured it out, Miami could be in some trouble. So I'm going to lean more towards the Browns on this one in a close game. in a close game. Week 18 is going to be Baltimore. And then obviously that will be it for the Browns season. You know, when I look at this schedule, it's a great bag. It's a great bag of surprises, some challenges for sure. The big thing for me is understanding whether or not Deshaun Watson is going to go out this season and be great. That's it. You can break it down however you want to. You can look at the stats. You can look at other teams defensively. The real question is, will Deshaun Watson become great this year? And if he's able to do that, then you're going to find these Browns in the postseason again, and they may be a threat. We won't really have an idea as far as until maybe week 5 of where these Browns are going to go truly. But at that point, we'll know. We'll talk about it again. We'll go through like we always do with our predictions and power rankings and all that fun stuff. But, you know, just giving it a quick glance, looking at it before we get into the preseason and the regular season, I think the Browns have a solid chance. I'm going to give the team a solid B. Considering the offense and the defense and what they have to offer, solid B moving in forward to next year. So there you go. Matt says Kansas City back-to-back Super Bowls. Wild. Listen, they're going for that three-peat. Somebody's got to stop them. Shout out to Patty. What's going on with you, Patty? How you doing tonight? Much love to you. Bill's Mafia in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Bill's Mafia in the house. Okay, I got that. Says I'm worried about Tua, CTE. He'll be okay. I think, you know, he's not only got the best doctors around him, but I'm hoping he's working on his conditioning, working on his health. And, you know, we don't have those same kind of situations that happen. Hopefully he's, you know, going to stay okay and be able to have a good career moving forward. Quick shout out to Matty T. Let's go. Being a member of the family for 20 months. Shout out to the Rinse Gang. Shout out to the family. Showing the love, showing the loyalty. I do appreciate each and every one of you. 20 months. It's almost 2 years, Matty T. Let's go, yo. Let's go. Listen, this is going to be our 5th season. Well, technically 5th. 4th season that I've actually taken it serious. And we've grown tremendously over the last 4 years. It's been nothing short of phenomenal. Always a good time. I can't wait till the season starts. And this is the year where I'm going to start focusing more on college as well. So Saturday, we doing some college. Sunday, we obviously doing our NFL thing. But I definitely want to start getting to some college some more, and include that in the stream schedule because, you know, the championships are cool, but I want to start getting in some of these college games because we always have a great time during the championship games for obvious reasons. But I want to start doing the college games as soon as the season starts along with the NFL. It's going to be a great time. I'm excited for it. I'm sure you guys are going to love it. More football for all of us. So I think it's going to be great for sure. For sure. So yeah, the question of the day, like I said, it's will Deshaun Watson bounce back? 60% of you said yes. I think so. I do. I would like to think that this individual has taken the time to grow, taken the time to develop more, taken the time to build on his legacy moving forward. Because he's been paid the money to not only display his talent, but to take this team to the next level. And that's what I think everybody wants to see. Even if you're not a fan of the Browns, I think you want to see Deshaun Watson bounce back from all the issues and the adversity that he went through. And I think that's where we are. I think that's where we are. without a doubt. Make sure you guys hit that like, that thumbs up. And of course, if you have not, make sure you do subscribe to the channel, click that bell, turn on your notifications so you don't miss the stream. We're doing this every night, 8 o'clock, 32 teams in 31 days. Tomorrow, we're on to Dallas. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on to the Dallas Cowboys tomorrow night. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting stream. We got a lot to talk about with these Cowboys. We'll get into Dak Prescott and why he can't close, and all the reasons of how he hasn't been able to finish. We'll also get into how the defense decided to just slow down when it mattered the most. Tony Pollard, CeeDee Lamb, him and Cole Beasley were going at it the other night. I posted that up. So yeah, we got some stuff to talk about tomorrow. Go through the schedule, all that good stuff. I'm excited for it. So yeah, we're not done. We got more football coming for you guys each and every night, 8 p.m. We're covering all 32 teams in 31 days. We're now on day 8. Tomorrow will be day 9, and we'll be covering those Dallas Cowboys. So yeah, I got about another 10, 15 minutes to chill out with you guys before I got to get up out of here. We could talk about some life stuff as I see base players talking about the weather. Listen, I stepped outside today. It was like 90 on the dash, and I'm like, wait a minute. I got to get some extra water. When you already had your water and it wasn't enough, it's like, I got to go get more water. It's been weird. Weather's been crazy. We're supposed to get a ton of rain, then it's going to cool down, but then it's right back up to the high 80s. And then after that, things are, I think, going to taper back down around the, mid 70s. So it's been kind of weird. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Vegas hitting crazy records. Now, for some of you some of you don't know, I actually lived in Vegas for a few years. The hottest it ever got when I was in Vegas was like 115, 116. I think it like maxed out around 116. And they just broke the record. It was like 120 degrees. Now, when you look at the heat as far as from a humidity, point of view, it feels like 105, 106. So, it's because it's dry heat. But to see those numbers, it's wild, because obviously you get the same kind of situation down in like Miami, where if it's 95 degrees, the humidity makes it feel like 105. But the Vegas sun just beaming down on you, it's a different thing. You got to drink a ton of water. You got to stay inside. Luckily, Vegas is filled with air conditioning and places where you could just chill out in the AC all day. You don't got to go nowhere, as long as you got some money in your pocket. But yeah, for the most part, weather's been crazy. And then obviously, we've seen that hurricane, right? Burl, the first Category 5 that ever happened this early. It's kind of weird. And they're saying that this year is going to have a really interesting, hurricane season. So the weather, listen, I ain't going to get into the whole thing about, global warming and all that. I'm just telling you what we seeing and what I've been seeing as far as changing this year. There's been a lot of changes this year. A lot of weird stuff, hot in places where it shouldn't be. And, different weird weather patterns, Some people were talking about the weather machine. Like I said, we ain't gonna get into the politics of it. I'm just saying things is a little weird. Just a little weird. Shout out to you, Patty. Yeah, it's a little scary. But the best thing you can do, is just take care of your body, take care of your mind, and enjoy life. That's all. Can't worry about the bad things. Just gotta find your happiness, find your peace, and in the end, you'll be all right. You'll be all right, without a doubt. So yeah, much love to the Wrench Gang, much love to the family. I appreciate all of you guys. Tomorrow's going to be the Dallas Cowboys. For the Cowboys fans, for the people that don't like America's team, if you want to chime in, you can chime in as well. It's always a fun time. But yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. You guys have a great evening, and peace out. Peace out.